Welcome to the AbSite Smackdown podcast. We'll talk clinical scenarios, interesting AbSite facts, and interesting general surgery knowledge. Now, let's get to it.
In our podcast last week with Dr. David Cashmere, we talked about the basics for the AbSite test. The test date, how many questions it includes, how the test is given, study tips, and resources. An overview, if you will. It was during this conversation that I wondered about the program you belong to and how it can impact your readiness for the test and its outcome. You take the test with your program. Your program gives you your test scores. I know we've talked a lot in previous blogs about whether or not they can predict your score, they being your program doctor. But how can your program make or break your AbSite score? I decided to find out. I went to my favorite research site and started looking. I didn't find exactly what I was looking for. I guess I'll need to do that research or conduct the study myself if I want to know the answer.
The AbSite Smackdown podcast. Visit the Smackdown at absitesmackdown.com.
But I did find an article on an initiative that was instituted in the early 2000s within a program to set out to make all the AbSite scores that fall under the percentile of 40 higher. Here's a link to that study below. It's not very clear to me why the AbSite scores were low to begin with. At least it's not explained or touched on in this article. Here's what they did. One faculty member was designated to meet with each resident with low scores. In spring, study plans were designed with each resident with practice questions and a study outline, and the AbSite test and results were gone over. 2 more meetings were held towards the end of the year before test time to gauge preparedness.
The AbSite Smackdown podcast, bringing you the best for your AbSite review.
They tried not to focus on the negative of low scores, and instead they pushed the importance of efficient study. Here's the conclusion from the article. If the resident scored above standard that year, further support was not required. From 2000 to 2004, 12, which is 9.5%, AbSite scores were below standard, which resulted in 8, 20.5%, residents receiving program support 9 times. All but one program encounter resulted in above standard scores the following year. 2 residents had recurrent below standard scores in subsequent years despite above standard scores immediately after the program. 1 resident did not participate in the program despite it being mandatory. During the same interval, the AbSite scores of residents not involved in the program decreased by an average of 3.7%. What I take away from this is that customization of a resident's needs and how they learn and personal one-on-one attention can have a positive impact on their score. But don't we all do better when we're helped and guided? Is that not just common sense? Regardless, you can take control of your score. With resources like AbSite Smackdown and the support and links on the website to go with it, you can create your own plan and outline. So get studying, and good luck. #AbSite Smackdown.
Thanks for listening to the AbSite Smackdown podcast. Visit us at absitesmackdown.com for more great AbSite facts.